Oh my God. Oh my God, that's so good. Hi, I'm Grantley Rushing here at the Inn at Ole Miss, home of McCormick's Bar and Grill, the restaurant that we're really excited about opening here in the future. Last week we made a hollandaise sauce. Delicious, it was fun, it turned out really well. We had a nice time doing it. But at the end of that episode, you saw that the sauce went on something. So that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna make filet of beef tenderloin, grilled asparagus, carrots, and smashed potatoes. So let's get started. Let's cook some stuff. So to get started, we're gonna get our water on for those potatoes. This is potatoes, this is blanching water. So the potatoes, these are red potatoes. All I've done is put them in there whole with about 2 whole cloves of garlic per potato and salt. In the middle, it's starting to meet some pretty good resistance. So it's not quite done. But let me talk about the salting real quick. The amount of salt I put in here, if you just taste this water, you would think that's very, very salty. But if you're blanching something, then it's the water that's circulating around the vegetable or the potato that's kind of leaching into that. Needs to be pretty salty in order for that salt to get in there. I'm gonna let these go probably another 5 minutes and they're gonna be ready. I'll show you what we're gonna do with those. In the meantime, my blanching water is going. So I have these asparagus. You've probably seen people do this before to determine where to cut your asparagus. You take your asparagus and you kind of bend it, and where it snaps is where the woody part is going to be below that. And I'm going to cut my asparagus about there. So if you have a look at this asparagus, you'll see it's beautiful and it's green, but after it comes out of this blanching water, it's going to be a much deeper and richer green. How long do you blanch something? Rule of thumb for me is always too little is better than too much. So you know, if you're wondering, is it enough? Go ahead and pull it. I can see my asparagus is already beautifully green, already. And you can see it's got a little more wiggle to it than it did before. I'm going to go ahead and pull this. Right here, I have ice water. I'm going right into the ice water. See that? That's just beautiful green. So this is my asparagus, and it is definitely blanched, but there's still plenty of crunch in there. And in fact, the flavor is coming out more because it's got the salt in there a little bit now. I mean, we're gonna cook this further, but you almost don't need to. So these have their nice root tips I'm gonna take off. And they have their stem ends and take off. As I'm taking my carrot and I'm slicing and rolling, 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 so that I end up with these cool little shapes. They're all about the same size because as I was rolling, I was cutting a little bit further down the carrot, and I have these nice little shapes. These are tenderloin of beef. So this is the head and this is the tail. And these are already cleaned. These have already been cleaned, and I'm going to take off the head, which we're not doing today. Sometimes what you'll see, like on the tail end, is you can actually fold this over and cut this way. And you can take some cut this end here, sort of fillet that end. Now what you want is some cooking twine, which I don't have. And you would twine this way, and so that you would have a steak that comes off of the tail. And what we're gonna do is we're going to take this part and just cut the center part into nice steaks. So there we go. Now that's a beautiful steak. Beautiful steak. And now we're back up here kind of at this head part, and I might be tempted to cut this into pieces to go on like a skewer or something, but I'm just gonna take this tip off and we'll just make this another little steak. So here are our fillets. To season these up, very simply, salt and pepper, and it might look like a lot of salt. But there's a lot of meat inside the steak, and I'm just seasoning the outside of the steak. So I do want it to be very well seasoned, and some pepper. And why am I holding my hand so far over the steak? Because that allows it to spread more evenly. And what I want to do is go with a little bit of olive oil. That's going to help on the grill. It's extra virgin olive oil, so it's got some flavor, but a little bit of olive oil is going to help this to get some marks on the grill and to not stick so badly. Now I'm going to go check on these potatoes. I'm going to wash my hands. All right, that's just sinking right in there. Look at that. No resistance. Resistance is futile. So I'm gonna turn that off and let it rest in that water just for a second. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna drain my potatoes. This is me draining my potatoes. And so what we're gonna make with these potatoes, I thought about mashed potatoes. You know, mashed potatoes. What we're gonna do instead is smashed potatoes. It's a little easier, but I believe more flavorful really in a lot of ways than mashed potatoes, if for no other reason, because only love is better than butter. So I've got my pan, I've got my mountain of butter. So my butter is just about completely melted and foamy. I'm going right in here with these guys, and I'm literally gonna smash them. Just smash them right down in there like that. And I'm gonna add this garlic that was cooked all up in there with those potatoes. And so check it out. Those just smashed like butter, like melted butter. I just smashed them, garlic sitting on top, butter all up in the bottom, little salt on top, little pepper. So in order to get the crust on this that I want, I'm gonna try not to worry that I'm burning them. I'm gonna try and let them go, like really, really get some heat in there. And I'm just gonna go ahead and just put more butter in those potatoes. Now my fire is pretty high right here. In fact, it's all the way up. I don't want that. I wanna bring it down about medium high so that the potatoes will have time to get a crust on them without just absolutely burning. But remember, like at this point, they're already delicious. They're cooked, they've got salt and pepper and garlic all over them and butter. And what you're doing now is just adding flavor and texture. You're adding some crust, you're adding the fond, which is the brown caramelization that happens. That's all you're doing. So you're just taking it from this level, I'll say, and you're making it this level. I'm gonna use my fish spat because they're gonna get under there really well. Look at that beautiful brown. So I'm just gonna get in here and try and flip that so that we can get this other side nice and browned as well. So this is smashed potatoes. The important thing with the potatoes is to not interact with them too much, because then you really just kind of end up with poorly mashed potatoes and not smashed potatoes. I'm gonna let my potatoes keep going, and we're going to Now deal with the steaks. What I like to do is get good grill marks. This grill is very, very hot. So my concern is going to be that the meat will stick to a very hot, dry grill. People become frightened or impatient. If you give the meat enough time to be on the grill, then it will release itself from the grill. If I were to try and pick one of these up, it came up very nicely because of that olive oil and because the grill is nicely seasoned and is nice and hot. These are coming right off, and that's good. If it ever does stick though, leave it down. As that brown caramelization happens on the surface of the meat, it'll release from the grill. And so, beautiful marks. Now, this grill was very hot, so some of these grill marks are very dark, but that's gonna be some beautiful flavor. The thing about having a hot grill is that you're going to get a lot of cook on the outside without a lot of cook on the inside. So one of the things that you can do if you want your filet cooked more than another filet, but the outside is already cooked how it should be, you can set it to a cooler part of the grill, or you can stick it into an oven and let it finish in there. And knowing when a steak is done is sometimes more art than science. I mean, it certainly is a science, but it's an art being able to see inside the steak with your mind and know whether or not it's done. One of the things you can look for, see this juice is coming out of the steaks. That's the heat getting into the middle of that steak and starting to bring that juice out. And of course, practice makes perfect. So the more you do it, the more that you just have a feel for what it cooks. You can always cook them more, then you can't take the heat out of them once they've been cooked. So if you pull a little early, you're better off than pulling it too late. And so what I'm feeling for here is the springiness. If it feels very mushy, then with a filet, it's going to be still rare in the middle. It'll start to firm up as it cooks. And you can see, sometimes you can see, especially on filet, that the edge of this is very rare and even cool. So I'm gonna flip it to that side. And because I'm so uninterested in overcooked meat, I'm just pulling all these off. Now what we have are these wonderful steaks. What they're doing now is resting. They still have lots of heat on them, and so they're hanging out here. Some of the juices are coming out, but as they rest, the juice is gonna reintroduce to the fibers of the meat. Now I'll check on my potatoes, which they're getting pretty dark, but to me, that's flavor. So what I'm gonna do is add some more butter, because only love is better than butter. And this is also going to cool that off just a little bit. I got distracted with my steaks, so I kind of let these potatoes go. That's fine. These are going to be delicious. So now we have our blanched and drained asparagus. I've got my olive oil. You want a high quality extra virgin olive oil. I'm just going right on there with, whatever, a couple tablespoons, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, a little more salt. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna take our knife, take the side of your knife, careful, smash that garlic. Smash that garlic. Smash that garlic. So now you got all this smashed garlic. Curl your fingers over, put your knife on it like that, and then come in here and mince your garlic up. Just like that. Now, put it in your asparagus. That smells amazing. I happen to have some lemon sitting here. I'm gonna squeeze just a little lemon juice on there. And again, you can just stop right now and eat this. But we are gonna put it on the grill. Look at that. Here's how you make grilling asparagus hard. You put them the other way and then they all go down in between, right? So So if you put them across, then they're not gonna fall in there. You can take your spatula, your tongs, and you can roll them. And that way we're gonna get marks on the other side. What are the marks? The marks are flavor. Okay, what I like to do, especially if you're a garlic fan, is just put this right back in. And toss it. So now we're putting it back in where it was with lemon juice, olive oil, and garlic. And I can't wait to try that. Oh my God. Oh my God, that's so good. So real quick, we're gonna turn that fire up hot. What are we gonna get? Butter. Okay, so I'm just gonna melt this butter. So my butter is melted. I'm gonna go right in here with my carrots. You know, the word saute is related to the word like to saunter or to jump. So you're making food jump in the pan. You're sauteing. So here's my carrots. They're browning up. They're starting to brown up. So, and I can smell them. Butter and carrots. A little bit of salt. A little bit of pepper. A little bit of brown sugar. Brown sugar is not necessary. You don't have to do that. But it's good. So my carrots are just about done. Nice and browned up. They got that sugar on them. I'm gonna taste it. Hallelujah. I'm gonna give it just a little bit of lemon juice for that acid, which kind of helps the flavors to really stand out. Those are gonna be ready. The first thing I'm gonna do is put down these potatoes, and I want that nice color that we got. And then next, what I'm going to do, we're gonna put this asparagus in here, and we're gonna add these carrots in. And I think right on top of that beautiful green asparagus, these carrots. And last but not least, we're going to put our steak. And one great thing about having the steak be on the asparagus is that they can share this hollandaise sauce. And there we are. Filet of beef with asparagus, carrots, and smashed potatoes with hollandaise sauce.